Hello and welcome to Learn English Smartly, where dreams begin with words. Are you struggling with English? Feeling stuck or shy to speak? Do you ever wonder if you can really become fluent and confident? Then stop what you're doing, because this story is for you. Today, I'm going to share a powerful, life-changing story. It's not just a story, it's a journey of passion, perseverance, and personal growth. You'll meet someone just like you, someone who faced fear, failure, and frustration, but turned it all into fuel to master English and transform his life. This isn't just about grammar or vocabulary. It's about the belief that you can do it, no matter where you are, no matter how hard it seems. So grab your headphones, sit back, and let this motivational story inspire you. And if you're ready to change your life through English, you're in the right place. Let's begin the journey of how learning English changed my life. Arav was born in a small village nestled between dusty hills in rural India. His home had no Wi-Fi, no smart TVs, and often no electricity. The village had only one school, a broken building with more goats than books. Yet, despite all these limitations, Arav had something rare, the burning desire to learn. From a very young age, Arav noticed that those who spoke English were treated differently. Tourists who visited nearby towns spoke in fluent English, and the shopkeepers who barely understood them nodded with wide eyes and nervous smiles. Arav watched them curiously, wondering how they made those beautiful sentences dance from their mouths. "Why do they speak so fast?" he once asked his elder brother. "That's English," his brother replied with a shrug. "Not for people like us." But Arav didn't believe that. Why not for people like us, he often thought. Why not me? His curiosity became a silent hunger. One day, when he was just 11, a foreigner visited their village on a bicycle tour. The man, tall and pale, had a warm smile. Arav followed him around like a shadow. The man said things like "beautiful place," "thank you," and "have a nice day." Arav repeated them softly, not even knowing what they meant. That evening, he scribbled them on a torn page from his school notebook. From that day on, Arav began collecting English words. He would sit in front of the village radio, tuning into static-filled channels. Sometimes an English song or news broadcast would play. He couldn't understand it, but he wrote down the sounds phonetically. The only English book in his school was a damaged grammar guide, which he borrowed so often that the teacher eventually gave it to him. When he turned 14, Arav made a big decision. He would speak English, no matter how long it took. Every morning, Arav would rise before the sun. The village was still asleep, only the roosters dared speak. He would sit under the old banyan tree near his house with his notebook, a pencil, and the grammar book. He practiced by reading aloud. "My name is Arav. I am a student. I want to learn English." His pronunciation was broken, and his rhythm awkward, but he was not ashamed. The early hour gave him privacy, and the tree shade and protection. His friends laughed when they heard him. "Why are you speaking like that? Are you going to London? Who needs English here?" But Arav didn't care. Something inside him had changed. Every sentence he read, every word he repeated, felt like laying bricks to build a road that would lead him far away from the dusty streets of his village. That year, something happened that would change his path forever. During a visit to a nearby town, Arav discovered an internet cafe. It cost 10 rupees for 30 minutes. He had only 15 rupees in his pocket, but he handed it over and sat in front of a computer for the first time in his life. He opened YouTube, unsure what to search. Slowly, with trembling fingers, he typed, "Learn English speaking." Dozens of videos appeared. Some had subtitles. Some had slow, clear pronunciation. He clicked one titled "Daily English Practice for Beginners." For the next 30 minutes, Arav was hypnotized. He didn't understand every word, but he repeated everything like a shadow. "Hello, how are you?" "I am fine, thank you." "What is your name?" That day a new habit was born. Arav could only afford the internet cafe once a week, but he made those sessions count. He would take a small notebook with him and write down everything he could, full sentences, vocabulary, pronunciation notes. Then, for the rest of the week, he practiced shadowing. He would find a quiet place near the river, put his notebook in front of him, and read aloud. He imagined he was having a conversation with a friend. "Arav. Hello. How are you?" "Friend. I'm fine, thank you." "What about you?" "Arav. I'm good. I am learning English." He recorded himself using a cheap second-hand phone his uncle had gifted him. When he played it back, he laughed. "I sound terrible," he thought. But he kept going. He discovered new learning methods on his visits to the cafe. Shadowing, repetition, breaking down sentences. He watched a video about pronunciation and realized he had been saying vegetable as vegetably, not vegetable. The corrections made him smile. Mistakes didn't scare him, they excited him. One day he tried something bold. At the village bus stand, he saw a tourist couple looking confused. He approached them and said nervously, "Excuse me, need help?" The woman smiled. "Yes, thank you. Do you know where the temple is?" He pointed and said slowly, "Go straight, right side." It was a short exchange. Less than 10 words. But that moment felt like winning a marathon. "I can do this," he whispered to himself. "I really can." Despite his growing confidence, Arav's journey was not without setbacks. One evening, he attended a local job fair organized in the nearby town. It was rare for companies to come this far from the city, so hundreds of young people showed up. Arav wore his best shirt, slightly faded but ironed and clean. He carried his resume handwritten neatly in English. He stood in a long line to meet a recruiter from a digital marketing firm. When it was his turn, he greeted her with a smile and said, "Good evening, ma'am. I want to work your company." The woman glanced at him and said politely, "Sorry, your English is not good enough. We need fluent speakers." Arav froze. His smile faded. He had prepared for weeks. He had practiced dozens of phrases. But at that moment, it wasn't enough. On his way back home, the bus felt quieter than usual. He kept replaying the words in his mind. Not good enough. The next few days were dark. He didn't practice. He didn't watch videos. He avoided his notebook. Doubt whispered to him, "Maybe you're just a village boy. Maybe this is too hard. What's the point?" But then something unexpected happened. His old school teacher, Mr. Doss, visited him. The teacher had heard about Arav's effort from others. "Arav," he said kindly, "I've seen students with college degrees who never tried this hard. You're learning a whole language without a classroom. That's rare." Arav looked down. "But I'm not fluent. I couldn't even talk properly at the job fair." Mr. Doss smiled. "Fluency comes after consistency. If you stop now, you'll never reach it. But if you continue, one day, those companies will beg you to work for them." That conversation reignited the fire in Arav's heart. He didn't want to give up. He would try again, and again, and again. Arav began to study smarter. He realized he had been learning like a parrot, repeating words, but not always using them. Now he created a system. Step 1, listen. He watched English podcasts and TED Talks with subtitles. Step 2, write. He paused videos, wrote down sentences, and translated them into Hindi. Step 3, speak. He repeated them aloud, using the same tone and rhythm. Step 4, record and reflect. He recorded his voice and compared it with the speaker. Day by day, his pronunciation improved. He could now say, "I'm passionate about communication. I believe in constant learning. I'm looking forward to challenges. He also joined a free Facebook group for English learners. Though he didn't speak much at first, he read every comment, every post. One day he gathered courage and posted, "Hello, I am Arav from India. I am learning English. Anyone want to practice?" He expected silence, but within an hour he had 10 replies. From that day, Arav began voice chatting with learners from around the world, Bangladesh, Nepal, Brazil, and even Nigeria. He was nervous at first, but each conversation helped him grow. And slowly, English stopped being a subject. It became a part of him. Months had passed. Arav's days were no longer the same. He woke up early, practiced his daily English routine, helped his father in the fields, and spent evenings learning online. Though life in the village hadn't changed much, Arav had changed entirely. One day, while scrolling through the English Learners Facebook group, Arav saw a post. Freelancer needed, basic English speaking tutor for kids, remote work, $5 per hour. His heart raced. It wasn't a high-paying job, but to Arav it meant the world. He could finally test his skills in the real world, and maybe earn money using English. He clicked on the form, filled it carefully, and recorded a 2-minute introduction. "Hello, my name is Arav. I am from India. I love teaching and learning. I want to help your children speak English with joy and confidence. Thank you." He didn't expect a reply. But 3 days later, his email showed a message. "You're hired for a 1-week trial. Welcome." Arav jumped out of his chair and shouted with joy. His mother came running, thinking something was wrong. When he explained, her eyes filled with tears. "You've been working so hard," she whispered. "This is just the beginning." During his first online class, he taught a 9-year-old boy from the Philippines. He was nervous, but he remembered to speak slowly, clearly, and with a smile. "Hello, how are you today? What color is the apple? Let's sing the ABC song." To his surprise, the boy smiled and answered back. The child's parents were happy and left a positive review. That single class led to another, and another. Soon, he was working part-time as a tutor, something he had never imagined possible just 1 year ago. Arav's small bedroom slowly turned into a mini classroom. He saved his earnings and bought a second-hand laptop. He added a table and a cheap ring light. Every dollar he earned gave him a new purpose. But he never forgot his roots, and how hard it had been to learn without help. So, Arav began recording short English lessons in Hindi and uploaded them to YouTube. His channel was simple: English with Arav. He taught how to introduce yourself, how to describe your daily routine, and how to speak with confidence. The very things he had struggled with. His videos weren't perfect. His accent was strong. But they were real, and people felt it. In a few months, his channel hit 1,000 subscribers. He received messages like, "Bye, your story gives me hope. I thought I was too old to learn English, but your videos proved me wrong. I am from a village too. If you can do it, maybe I can too." Those comments were more valuable than any payment. Because now Arav wasn't just learning English. He was leading others. Arav's journey was no longer just about learning English. It had become a mission. One day, while checking his YouTube comments, he noticed something different. A message written in English by someone named Rebecca Stone. "Hi Arav, I'm an English teacher from Canada. I came across your video. Your story is inspiring. Would you be interested in collaborating on a project for village learners?" Arav was stunned. A foreign teacher was reaching out to him, the boy who once feared even saying hello in English. He took a deep breath and replied, "Yes, I'd love to help. Thank you for the opportunity." That message changed his life again. Rebecca invited him to co-create a free online English course for beginners. The project was simple: short videos, local language explanations, and real-life conversation practice. They began meeting on Zoom every week. Ariv's fluency improved even more. He picked up natural expressions, better pronunciation, and confidence from Rebecca. She, in return, admired his resilience and grassroots knowledge. "You're not just a student anymore, Ariv," she once said. "You're an educator and a leader." Ariv smiled, humbled. No one had ever said that to him before. Together, they launched the course, and within 2 weeks, over 5,000 learners from India, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Pakistan had enrolled. For the first time, Ariv saw his name being appreciated by people he'd never met. His story had become a movement, not just of language learning, but of hope. And yet his biggest dream was still waiting. Months passed, and the success of the online English course gave Ariv recognition across South Asia. But deep inside, he still held on to one childhood dream: to travel abroad and speak English confidently in front of the world. Then one day he saw an announcement online: Global Youth Leaders Conference, accepting applications for international delegates. It was a prestigious event where young changemakers from around the world gathered to share ideas and inspire each other. Ariv hesitated. Am I really ready for this? But then he remembered something Rebecca once told him. Leaders aren't born perfect. They grow through courage. With her help, he submitted a video application in English. He spoke about his journey, his struggles, the mobile he borrowed to watch videos, the fear he conquered, and the smiles of young learners who now believed in themselves. 2 weeks later, an email arrived. Subject: Congratulations, you've been selected. Ariv couldn't believe it. He screamed with joy, tears in his eyes. His parents hugged him, overwhelmed with pride. For the first time in his life, Ariv boarded a flight. He looked out of the airplane window and whispered, I used to look up at the sky from my village, and now I'm flying through it. At the conference in Singapore, Ariv stood in front of 300 global delegates and shared his story, in fluent English. I was a boy from a small village in India. I didn't have English classes, internet, or money, but I had one thing, a reason to keep going. When he finished, the audience gave him a standing ovation. For Ariv, it wasn't just applause. It was the sound of a dream that had finally taken flight. After returning from the Global Youth Leaders Conference, Ariv was no longer just a local inspiration. He had become a symbol of hope for youth across developing nations. He began receiving hundreds of messages. Brother, how did you learn English so fluently? Can you teach us too? I want to speak like you someday. Ariv knew this was more than just admiration. This was a calling. He gathered his team and said, Let's not just stop at online courses. Let's go to villages. Let's create learning centers. Let's give children what I never had: guidance, resources, and belief. That's how the Speak to Shine project was born, a movement that created free English learning hubs across underdeveloped regions. Each center had solar-powered lights, a library of beginner-friendly English books, mobile devices with downloaded lessons, and most importantly, mentors who cared. Ariv personally visited over 100 villages, standing before crowds of eager children and teens. He would begin each session by saying, I once sat in a broken classroom, confused by English. But I never gave up, and neither will you. He taught them with storytelling, songs, real-life role-plays, and positive affirmations. His sessions ended with the same chant. I believe in myself. I can speak English. I will change my future. International organizations took notice. Ariv was invited to speak at the United Nations Youth Assembly, where he addressed the importance of language access as a right, not a privilege. Standing at the podium, he said, Fluency is not just pronunciation. It's courage. It's identity. It's freedom. And every child, no matter where they are born, deserves the chance to speak up and be heard. The world applauded. But Ariv wasn't interested in fame. He returned to his country and quietly continued his mission, visiting children in dusty towns, mountain villages, and coastal islands. One day, a shy 11-year-old girl walked up to him and said in hesitant English, "Sir, I want to be like you." Ariv bent down, smiled, and said, "You will be better than me." And at that moment he knew. The story of his life had just become the start of thousands more. Years passed. Ariv was no longer just a young man with a dream. He was now a man with a mission that had touched millions. His face appeared in education documentaries, and his voice echoed in university lectures across the world. But his soul still belonged to the quiet library corner where he once whispered English words to himself. The Speak to Shine project had now expanded into 15 countries, reaching refugee camps, mountain tribes, inner-city schools, and forgotten towns. Volunteers, inspired by Ariv's journey, translated his story into more than 30 languages. In every corner of the world where children felt lost, hopeless, or invisible, Ariv's story gave them courage. And it all began with his simple dream to speak English. But Ariv had one more goal, a final project to complete the circle of his journey, a book. He called it From Silence to Speech, My Journey with English. A memoir, yes, but more than that, it was a guide. He filled it with his step-by-step English learning methods, daily practice ideas, shadowing and journaling tips, stories of students who succeeded despite all odds, and heartfelt letters to young learners. "If you're reading this," he wrote in the introduction, "then know this, your voice matters. Your words will shape your future. English is just a tool, you are the creator." When the book launched, it became an instant bestseller, not because of marketing, but because students shared it with students. Teachers made it part of their syllabus. Parents read it aloud to children. It was no longer Ariv's story, it was their story. He was invited to speak at Oxford University, where the dean introduced him as a man whose dictionary was filled with dreams, and whose grammar was made of grit. Standing before a crowd of academics, Ariv paused and said, "My English is not perfect. But perfection was never the goal. Connection was. Courage was. And I believe all of you, no matter your accent, background, or mistakes, can change the world with your voice." The crowd rose to a standing ovation. That night, Ariv walked through the quiet streets of Oxford, holding his notebook, the same one he used to write new English words back in the village. He flipped through the pages, now old and wrinkled. There, on the last page, he wrote, "I was once silent. English gave me a voice. I used that voice to lift others. And now it's their turn." And with that, Ariv closed the notebook. His legacy was no longer written in ink. It was written in hearts. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Fahim was no longer the same hesitant learner who feared speaking in front of others. He had transformed. And this transformation didn't just happen because of grammar rules or vocabulary lists. It happened because of belief. He believed in himself. One evening, after finishing an online English discussion class, Fahim sat on the rooftop under the stars. The gentle wind carried the sounds of the city below. He looked up at the sky and whispered to himself in English, "I used to be afraid of speaking. Now I can express myself." He reflected on everything. The struggles, the doubts, the long nights spent listening, shadowing, reading, and repeating. The moments he nearly gave up. But through it all, he held on to one thing, his purpose. One quote he had written on his wall from the beginning stood out clearly in his mind. "Your dream is waiting for you. Don't let fear be the reason you never meet it." That quote had become his mantra. One day, he received an invitation to join a virtual global summit for youth leaders and learners. He was asked to speak about how learning English changed my life. His heart raced. Could he do it? Yes. He sat down and prepared his speech in English. He practiced day and night. He recorded himself, listened back, improved his pronunciation, and refined his message. And finally, on the day of the summit, Fahim turned on his webcam, adjusted his microphone, and looked directly into the camera. His voice was steady. His accent carried traces of his roots, but his words were clear, expressive, and powerful. He began, "Hello everyone. My name is Fahim. I come from a small town in Bangladesh. For years, I was afraid of speaking English. I thought I wasn't smart enough, that I didn't belong in this world of fluent speakers. But then I changed one thing, my mindset. I decided not to wait for someone to teach me. I became my own teacher, and English became my bridge to confidence, connection, and courage." As he spoke, hundreds of viewers listened from around the world. Some nodded in agreement. Some were inspired. Some took notes. And many realized they too had the power to change. That day, Fahim didn't just speak English. He touched hearts. He proved that English fluency is not just about grammar. It's about courage. It's about believing you are worthy of being heard. After the virtual summit, Fahim received dozens of messages from young learners across the globe: India, Egypt, Brazil, Nigeria, and even remote islands he had never heard of. "Your story gave me hope. I always felt alone in this journey, but now I feel stronger. Can you help me with my English learning?" Fahim couldn't believe it. Just a year ago, he had no confidence to even say, "hello," in English. Now, people from around the world looked up to him as a role model. He realized something powerful that night. This was no longer just his journey. It was a movement. So Fahim started a YouTube channel. He named it Rise with English. In his first video, he shared his story in simple, slow English so beginners could follow along. Then he posted daily shadowing practice videos, storytelling sessions, vocabulary tips, and motivational talks. He wasn't a native speaker, but that was the magic. People connected with him because they saw themselves in him. His channel grew rapidly. In just 6 months, he reached 50,000 subscribers. Comments flooded in every day. "This is the first time I understood a full English story. I follow your channel daily. You make English feel possible. Please do more stories like yours." Fahim spent his nights planning videos, recording voiceovers, editing subtitles, and responding to comments. But he didn't complain, because this was his new mission: to help others believe they could speak English too. He started a Facebook group for learners to practice together. He created a free PDF guide on how to practice shadowing. And soon he was invited to speak on another international panel, this time as a mentor. But Fahim always remained grounded. Every week he still practiced. He still read books. He still repeated sentences in front of the mirror. Because he believed, learning never ends. And neither does growing. He no longer saw English as a subject. He saw it as a gift he now passed on to others. It was a bright spring morning when Fahim received an email from the organizers of the Global Learners Education Summit in Singapore. "Dear Mr. Fahim, we are pleased to invite you as the keynote speaker for our opening session titled, Voices of Change, Stories from Real Learners. Your journey has inspired thousands. We believe it's time the world hears you live." Fahim stared at the screen for minutes. Him? A keynote speaker? In front of thousands? His hands trembled. He remembered his first sentence in English. "My name is Fahim." And now he was being asked to give a 30-minute speech in English. He felt fear at first, but then he smiled. "I've trained for this my whole life," he whispered to himself. He wrote the speech carefully, not with complicated grammar or fancy phrases, but from the heart. He practiced every evening. He recorded his voice. He shadowed TED Talks. He stood in front of the mirror and spoke with emotion. He didn't aim for perfection. He aimed for connection. On the stage, the spotlight felt warm on his face. Hundreds of eyes looked up at him. Cameras rolled. Microphones stood ready. He took a deep breath. Then he began. Good morning, everyone. My name is Fahim. I come from a small town where English was a dream, not a skill. I didn't go to a fancy school. I didn't have private tutors. But I had a dream and a deep belief that English could be the bridge to my future. The audience sat in silence, hanging on every word. I learned English not in classrooms, but in shadows. I repeated YouTube videos. I read storybooks to walls. I practiced even when people laughed. And slowly my voice grew louder. My confidence grew stronger. People in the crowd wiped tears. Others took notes. Some simply nodded in admiration. He ended the speech with, "If I could do it, so can you." Because English isn't just a language. It's a voice. And every learner deserves to be heard. The hall erupted in applause. Some stood. Some clapped with joy. Some smiled with silent respect. That night, thousands followed Fahim's journey online. News outlets wrote headlines like, "From Shadows to Spotlight, Fahim's English journey inspires a generation." He wasn't just a student now. He was a leader, a mentor, a symbol of hope for millions learning English without resources, without native speakers, without support. Months after the summit, Fahim's life transformed completely. He wasn't just learning English anymore. He was teaching, mentoring, and inspiring others on a global scale. With the support he received, Fahim launched an online platform called Voice Forward, a free, interactive website where learners from villages, small towns, and non-English backgrounds could practice shadowing techniques, access real-life English conversations, read inspirational learning stories, join weekly live speaking rooms. Within 6 months, over 100,000 learners signed up. People from Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, Egypt, Kenya, Brazil, even remote parts of the world, sent messages like, "Your story gave me hope. I never thought I could speak English. Now I do. You helped me believe in my voice." Fahim returned home to see his mother sitting on the rooftop, just like in the old days. She was holding a smartphone, watching his speech on YouTube, tears glistening in her eyes. "Ma," he said softly, "do you remember the day I tried to say one sentence in English?" She smiled through her tears. "Yes, and I told you, your tongue would learn. Now the world listens to you." They hugged, and it felt like every struggle, every hour of practice, every late-night self-doubt had been worth it. In the following year, UNESCO invited Fahim to speak about education for underprivileged learners. He collaborated with educators to develop shadowing-based curriculum in rural schools. His YouTube channel, Learn English Smartly, reached over 1 million subscribers. Schools used his story as a case study for motivation. And Fahim was named among the top 30 young education influencers in Asia. But Fahim remained humble. He always said, "I'm not special. I'm just proof that when a learner doesn't quit, the world can't ignore them." To end the story, Fahim wrote a message on his website homepage. To the one reading this, maybe you feel stuck. Maybe your grammar isn't perfect. Maybe people laugh at your pronunciation. But I promise you, none of that matters. If you keep going, if you practice shadowing, if you speak without fear, one day, your voice will echo in places you've never imagined. Because your voice matters. And English isn't a test. It's a bridge. Walk it proudly.